Wonderful, thank you. I will keep the thank you. I'll take a look at that.
Commissioner, it's 4:01.
Well, you and I have had that conversation. I was trying to explain in digestible terms for the general public, without getting too deep in the weeds on the radio, what the roles of the elections are. Ready? Is this on? Welcome everybody to the Board of Commissioners. On today, Washington County, what is the day today? October 17th at 4 o'clock. We've had the first item on the agenda, which was public comment from 3:30 to 4. Had a very lively, good discussion. And we are going to start this portion of the meeting now with an invocation by Shadman Bashir, who, have I seen? Oh, there he is.
Yes, Shadman.
Shadman, we invite you to come on up. And a member of our Interfaith Council.
So I was kind of on the side. I was like,
I thought I saw you earlier, but then
this has been a active weeks on campus, lots of heated debates and stuff. So I have nothing to do with Hamas or Israel or anything like that. I'm just work at the university. So I'm from the Muslim faith, and it's a bit of a dodgy situation these days. But I'm representing the Interfaith Council, and it's a pleasure to be in this wonderful community. This is my home. This is where my kids are born, and this is where, God willing, we'll be living for a very long time. So thank you very much for inviting. I'll be quick. In the name of God, the most gracious, the most merciful, O God, creator of that exists, as we gather here today in unity and mutual respect, bless this assembly with wisdom and understanding, guide our hearts and minds to serve the people of Washington County with sincerity and justice. Let our decisions reflect the shared values and hopes of our diverse community, and may our endeavors be in the best interest of all its members. As we strive to better our community, grant us the strength to listen, the patience to understand, and the courage to act justly. Amen. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Shadman.
Thank you, Shadman.
We'll now have a Pledge of Allegiance led by Michael Stubentrit. I hope I said that. Stephen Tritt, retired U.S. Marine Corps.
Yes. Gentlemen, ladies, visitors, here is customary normally that we pull our hand over our heart, our right hand over our heart. If you're in the military, active, or you're a veteran, in uniform or not, you can give to render the hand salute. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, and again, thank you for your service. The first item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is a means of expediting the consideration of routine matters. If a commissioner requests that items be removed from the consent agenda, those items are placed at the beginning of the regular agenda. Other than requests to remove items, a motion to approve the items on the consent agenda is not debatable.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as follows. Item A, consideration of audited or approved claims for payment for October 6th, 2023 through October 17th, 2023. Item B, consideration of special commission meeting minutes from October the 5th, 2023. Item C, consideration of administrative adjustments for real property. Item D, consideration of administrative adjustments for personal property. Item E, consideration of Ironman renewed host venue agreement. Item F, consideration of approval of the Precision Power agreement for maintenance and testing of generators and transfer switches. Item G, consideration of a partially amended plat for Dixie Deer Estates by adjusting the lot line between lots 18 and 19. The applicant is Mr. Wendt. Item H, consideration of a partially amended plat for Dixie Deer Estates combining two parcels into one lot. Lots 15 and 16, the Varners are the applicants. Item I, consideration of a partially amended plat for New Harmony Farms by moving lot lines between two parcels and fixing an illegally created parcel. Applicants are Holm and Olson. Item J, consideration of a partially amended plat for Grassy Meadows Sky Ranch by combining lots 29, 30, and 31 into one lot. Applicant Sturbano. Item K, consideration of a partially amended plat for Brookside Estates to increase the size of two parcels and eliminate one parcel, namely lots 22, 30, and 31, Baron Jensen applicants, and that's my motion.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to second that motion.
We have a very long motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. As we move into the regular agenda, just wanted the public to know we did make a new change today with the public comment, which we held beforehand and was more of a town hall style, so we could hear from and have dialogue with the citizens and hear from them before we took votes on certain items on the agenda. And we'll try that for a while, always striving for more transparency and efficiency and ability to contact and communicate together. As I've said before, and as I said earlier, we have never claimed to have all the good ideas, so we look to our citizens to have solutions that we can dialogue on and see if we can come to solutions together for the problems that face us. So that will now take place before the meeting, so we can hear from you before we vote. The first item on the regular agenda is a presentation of the 2022 financial statements from Hinton Burdick. This will be scintillating, I'm sure.
And I should point out that my motion was rather long, and everything after this gets shorter.
Yes. Yes.
I'll see what I can do, Commissioner Almquist. Thank you for having me here today. I really appreciate the opportunity I have to come and report to you on the audit that we recently completed. My name is Stephen Palmer. I'm a CPA and a partner with Hinton Burdick CPAs and Advisors. We're a CPA firm that's independent of the county, and we're hired to do the county's annual audit, to look over the finances and specifically to render an opinion on the county's financial statements and whether or not they are presented in conformity with generally accepted accounting principles. As part of this service that we provide, there are several reports that we issue. The first being the independent auditor's report, and it's within this report that we give our opinion on the financial statements. And I'm pleased to report that we issued an unmodified, or a clean opinion, if you will, on the county's financial statements, meaning that after all the test work we performed, it is our opinion that those financial statements present fairly in all material respects the county's financial position and the results of its operations for 2022. We're required to issue a second report on internal control over financial reporting and on compliance. And I'm pleased to report that we had no findings that were required to be issued on this report. We issue a third report on the county's compliance with state matters as they pertain to finance. There was one small item that we reported here. The RAP tax special revenue fund overexceeded its legally approved budget. And you can look in the financial statements for more information on that. At the back of the statements, there's also the county's response to that finding and what will be done in the future to help better monitor expenditures. We also issued a report to the federal government as part of the Federal Single Audit Act, where we look at federal monies that the county receives and how those monies were spent. I'm pleased to report that we did not have any findings as part of those procedures either. If we could just take a couple of minutes and look at the county's financial position from the 10,000 foot level, if you will. We could get really bogged down in details, but we'd be here all night. So this is just to look at general important trends of the county's financial situation. This first set of graphs represents the general fund of the county. That top red line represents the fund balance. If you were to take all the assets, subtract the liabilities, that residual amount is the fund balance. And you can see it's very consistent with previous years, increasing slightly, a positive trend. That lower blue line represents the amount of cash in the general fund at December 31st, 2022. The bottom graph represents the revenues and expenditures of the general fund, and you can see that they closely mirror one another. And that's exactly what we'd expect to see in the general fund. The general fund doesn't exist to turn a profit. It exists to provide for the needs of the citizens of the county. So you wouldn't expect revenues to have a large margin over expenditures or vice versa. So those trends look exactly how we would expect them to. I would like to point out that the expenses do include some significant transfers to other funds. 5.8 million was transferred to the Municipal Services Fund, and 5.6 million was transferred to the county's capital project fund. Here's the assessing and collecting fund. Again, the top line is the fund balance, and the bottom line is the cash, and there you can see the revenues and expenditures down below. You can see that expenses have outpaced revenues for a short period of time. That is mainly due to transfers that were made to the capital project fund to help facilitate this building and other capital projects within the county. So that's why you've seen that decrease in cash and fund balance.
It's
mainly
used to
due
pay to build this building.
Mainly, yep.
And the other one, above that, the assessing and collecting fund, we made adjustments in the tax rate,
Thank you.
lowered them, so that's why there was less revenue.
Perfect, thank you. This next graph is the travel board. There we go, thank you. And again, we have the fund balance on top, cash on the bottom with the revenues and expenditures. You can see that revenues are a little bit more than expenditures, but not much. They largely mirror one another. I'd also like to point out that the expenditures include nearly 2 million that was transferred to the capital project fund.
I'd like the public to know that that's not travel that we take.
No, it is
That
not.
is those coming to our area, TRT, right?
That's right. The main revenue in this fund is transient room taxes.
Okay,
Taxes
so
that come from hotels.
next year we need to change the title of this board so that the public doesn't get the wrong impression. This is transient room tax funds and others, I'm guessing TRCC as well?
We could change the name of the fund if you'd like to. If you'll talk to your finance staff, that could certainly happen.
Good,
But you're exactly right. That's where the revenues come from.
okay.
And I'll just point out that the expenditures are used to promote travel within the county, tourism, and they also go to help support the Dixie Center, the WCIA. Yep. The next slide, this is the capital project fund. You can see that there has been significant expenditures in the capital project fund over the past couple of years, and I think we all know why. We're standing in this beautiful new building, and that's been the main capital project of the county, as well as the parking structure. There are also significant projects going on at the correctional facility and a myriad of others, but this building and the parking structure being the most significant.
Crisis Stabilization Center, the CJC,
There's a lot.
yeah.
So that's what we're seeing in the capital project fund. That's why those revenues have been so high the past couple of years. The next being the Municipal Services Fund. This fund provides for many of the services within the county: engineering, surveying, planning, sheriff, weed control, you name it, it's in this fund. It's kind of a catch-all fund. You can see once again that revenues and expenditures largely mirror one another, and the cash and the fund balance follow the same trend, just as we would expect in this fund. Revenues include 5.8 million that was transferred in here from the general fund, and this fund also received 3.3 million from the federal government for fee in lieu of taxes revenue. That's where yep.
So for the public, that's money that the government pays us because we're not allowed to tax the federal government.
That's
So it's
right.
payment in lieu of taxes for the 66% of Washington County that's held by the federal government.
That's correct. Thank you, Commissioner.
And I'd also like to point out that if we were to tax it, it would be a lot higher than what the federal government pays us because they're cheapskates. Maury, you can quote me on that, that's okay.
If we look at the next fund, it's the Recreation Fund. This is used to fund recreation facilities within the county to a large degree. You can see once again, the fund balance and cash largely mirror one another, as do the revenues and expenditures. As those projects vary from year to year, so do the expenditures. That's why you see a little bit of variation there.
And I think it's important to note that while the county only has 5% technically of the citizenry in the unincorporated areas, that these funds are kicked right back out to municipalities, and you have the list of everyone that received those funds. And of course, you probably do their taxes as well and saw
Right.
where they received them. But my point is that the recreation fund is also helping to fund projects in cities where everyone lives.
Very much so.
Yeah.
I'd also like to point out the main revenue source is revenue food taxes. 5.2 million roughly came into this fund from restaurants. Expenditures included 2 million transferred to the Capital Projects Fund, funding for WCIA, sports venues, many, many others. And the last fund that I'd like to talk about is the Corridor Preservation Fund. It's within this fund that the county acquires land that's going to be needed for transportation purposes. Activity in this fund varies from year to year based on the needs of the area and opportunities that come available to acquire such land. So you can see that the revenues and the expenditures bounce around a little bit just because you never know when a land sale is going to come available.
So basically, for the public to know, again, that's when a municipality has a master plan, they expect that the growth is gonna be big in Southern Hurricane. They need transportation, roads to get down there to where they know that development will come.
Right.
Somebody's gotta buy those corridors, those rights of way. And, so there's a way that we collect funds on that and then help pay for those to move people around.
Exactly. Thank you. The last slide is simply a summary of the county's debt. You can see 12/31/2022, the county had about $5.8 million in long-term liabilities, and the year before it was $23 million. One of the big swings is a few years ago we had to put the pension liability on the books. You may remember that. Due to how well Utah has been managing their pension funds, the county does not have a pension liability at the moment. The county has a pension asset, and that's what's caused that large swing in long-term liabilities. It's mainly due to the pension-related items. With that, if you have any questions for me, I'll be happy to answer them. But first, I'd just like to express my thanks to you and to the staff of the county. The finance staff is very, very helpful. They do a great job watching over the funds of the county, making sure that things are accounted for properly. When we're in here doing our audit, we're pests, I'll admit it. We ask for a lot of information, we ask a lot of questions. They're always so very good to get us what we need in a timely manner, and I really appreciate that.
We strive for excellent transparency, and so I'm glad that the staff does that. That's really our esteemed clerk auditor, Ryan Sullivan, and his staff that work with you, so
Right.
they heard you, they're sitting right here, so good job, guys.
We really do appreciate our relationship with Hinton Burdick. You guys do a great job,
Yeah,
great
your team.
outside auditors.
Thank you.
So, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Steve,
Have a good evening.
Our next item on the agenda is a presentation by the Washington County Youth Coalition.
Is it Pam? How are you guys doing today?
Oh, we're good. So, good evening, Washington County City Council. We are the Washington County Youth Coalition, and as volunteer high school students within the county, we are here to request your support in our mission towards a healthy community. My name is Jasmine, and I'm a senior at Snow Canyon High School.
My name is Brianne, and I'm a junior at Crimson Cliffs High School.
Today, we are presenting and would like to renew the Alcohol-Free School Year Proclamation for the academic year of 2023 to 2024. The proclamation reads as, whereas the Washington County County Prevention Coalition and the Washington County Youth Coalition have designed this upcoming school year as an alcohol-free year for youth, sponsored by Reach for Hope and Southwest Prevention, a school year to set clear rules and expectations about no underage drinking. Whereas alcohol used by those under the age of 21 negatively affects their health and safety, and thus the safety and well-being of all those living and working in the communities of Washington County. And whereas teens who use alcohol often progress to addictive behavior later in life. are at a much higher risk for developing mental illnesses as adults, and whereas addictive behaviors and mental illnesses also greatly increase the risk of suicide, and whereas underage drinking is a major public health problem that negatively impacts the brain development of our young people, causing a higher probability of early alcohol addiction, alcohol-related traffic accidents, and brain impairment. And whereas under the law, it is illegal for a minor to purchase, possess, or consume any alcohol beverage, and it is illegal and punishable for anyone to sell, offer to sell, or furnish alcohol to a minor. And
Whereas the mayors of St. George City, Washington City, Hurricane City, Hildale City, Ivan City, and Santa Clara City, in addition to the commissioners of Washington County and the state of Utah, are committed to the development of a major statewide public information campaign with the overall objectives of changing social norms regarding depression, suicide ideation, underage drinking, and risky behaviors. And whereas we commend the overwhelming majority of our young people who are drug and alcohol free, and we desire all of our youth to be drug and alcohol free so as to develop in a healthy society. And now, therefore, we as mayors and commissioners hereby proclaim our support and offer an invitation to the entire community to help encourage family bonding and reduce underage drinking in order to improve the health and safety of all youth and adults in Washington County. We invite all members of our community, including individuals, families, governments, schools, religious and civic organizations, to participate in and sponsor activities that will heighten awareness regarding the dangers of underage drinking to young people's health and safety, and will strengthen their ability and desire to refuse to drink alcohol. And whereas we declare the 2023-2024 school year as an alcohol-free school year for youth to bring awareness to risky behaviors and underage drinking and promote the bringing of families together.
All right, well done.
So how long have you guys been on the coalition?
I've been here, I think, since sophomore year, and
And me as well, so.
Do they still have their annual conference in Salt Lake? Oh,
I haven't attended, so
I just remember that was kind of a big deal back before you came into the world, when I was a youngster.
Commissioner Iverson's old.
So I remember, it was very important for me to be part of the youth council so that I could, A, it's a great cause, and B, go to that conference. It was fabulous.
I'm also interested in what you do on school campus because you're very visible and you're probably leaders there as well. But you have posters and things that you put up that give more awareness to your peers as well as those who might be new to the area from areas where, hey, wait, I can't do this.
So we actually have flyers around the school everywhere where we consider hotspots where there might be people that could drink or vape or do any of those other drugs in the area. And we also put up signs in our schools where it has like no drinking, no vaping signs. So we can declare the school drug and alcohol free.
Very good.
Okay.
Well, it's so important. So thank you for everything.
Thank
you
the
do.
other members of
Your
your
leadership.
coalition because I know there's more than two. So
Yeah.
thank them all. Great. And we'll sign that document. I believe you have it.
Yeah.
Well, we'll take item number 3. Just hold on one second then. It's consideration of the proclamation that you just read, proclamation number 2023-32, a proclamation to declare the 2023-24 school year as an alcohol-free school year for youth.
I make that motion.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now we can sign it. And, do you want to take a picture?
Oh, you bet.
Well, can we take a picture with you? Yeah.
I'll take it and I'll bring it down there.
right, item number 4 is our third presentation of the day, presentation of the 20-year water plan by the Washington County Water Conservancy District. Zach Renstrom, our esteemed manager of the Washington County Water Conservancy District.
All right, sorry. You won't get to see my wonderful slide presentation, which is not that big a deal. Thanks for allowing me to come. You guys kind of jazzed to join up since I left a little bit. That's nice. I
It
know
was
we
not
talked
quite as
about it.
nice when you were commissioner.
No, but we were saving money for it, so it's good to see the money's
Thank
gone to
you.
good use.
Basically, I have you to thank.
No, I have to say it happened before, that we had some commissioners, even before Commissioner Iverson and I were here, that we have a long history of very fiscal conservative leaders here in the county. And so it's good to see that you can buy this building without bonding. So I think it's impressive. So what I was coming here today is, so of course, there's been a lot of discussion about water going on in the community and everything that's going on. And so this community was focused for a long period of time on the Lake Powell pipeline. And due to the politics and everything that's going on with the pipeline, we realized that it's not going to be built anytime soon enough for our growing community. So at the county, or the water district, we refocused and decided what can we do. And so we started pulling off any crazy idea that we could find off the shelf and reevaluating those ideas and talking about those ideas. And so some of the things that we have now put in our 20-year plan were things that were discussed maybe 10, 15 years ago, but at the time they weren't economically feasible or there were cheaper options. But now, since the well is literally running dry, we're pulling those ideas off and saying, yeah, let's relook at it because we can make it wet. And so we focused on how to provide water for the next 20 years for our community and the rate of growth. And we're focusing on basically two things. Is basically, the large portion of it is the new homes being today need to be water efficient. So starting January 1st, if a home is being built in Washington County, it is one of the most water efficient homes in the state of Utah, if not most of the western United States. And so we have that. So we're making sure the homes are being built. And then with our older homes, we're offering a lot of rebates to help those individuals have those homes become water efficient. So for example, our grass rebate, which is 100% voluntary. No one's mandating anybody rip out any grass, but if they want to participate in that grass rebate, they just let us know. And so we have already about 1,600 applicants for that. We're leading the state in that, and everybody we talk to has been a very positive report. Now I want to emphasize, this is not just rip out the grass, this is a landscape conversion. So if you rip out the grass, they have to put in desert-friendly landscaping that will keep the heat island effect cooling our area. Then the other large portion of it is reuse. And that's basically, we're going to start taking our sewer water, treating it, and putting it back to use. And so right now, our sewer water, we do a lot with it. Sometimes we discharge it to the Virgin River. Sometimes we literally just mist it in the air to get it to evaporate. Sometimes we put it on certain alfalfa crops, but we over-irrigate, just kind of trying to get rid of the wastewater. We're going to start treating that water to a higher standard, and we're going to start reutilizing that. And so we have developed a very sophisticated plan where we can take that reuse water and reutilize it, basically. It's going to require an extensive system to put in place. But in doing that, and doing a lot of conservation, a lot with reuse, and then we still have our traditional projects, like just building dams. We have multiple dams that we're hoping to build here within the next few years. We actually awarded a contract to start the construction of Toka Reservoir, and so you'll be seeing some big tractors moving up in that area. But we're also building the pipelines to utilize all that too, and we are drilling some wells in some other areas that we hope to. And then lastly, just your typical ag conversion. That's where when a farmer wants to call it quit, sell his land to a developer, we'll take a portion of that water and start drinking that water. I do want to emphasize, every time we do purchase water rights, it's always from a willing seller. We would never, ever, ever condemn a farm or anything like that to take those water rights. It's always from a willing seller. So when we put all that together and all the different sources, we come to the conclusion of two things. Is first of all, if we do all these projects, we will have a reliable supply of water for 20 years for our county at a very decent, healthy rate of growth. This was presented to the home builders. This has been presented to several other organizations, and they all think it's a great plan. The state has reviewed our plan, says it's feasible and acceptable. The cities have also looked at it, and they are also working on it. And so we know it is a feasible plan. We know it's a plan we can do, but we also know it comes with a massive cost. And so it's going to be over $1 billion in my career that I hope to spend. And so you have to put in perspective, like Warner Valley Reservoir that we're in the process of getting the land, to construct that one project will be about $110 to $120 million. So we have done some financial analysis of that to make sure we can afford it. And so with the emphasis that new growth needs to pay for new growth. And so when we look at how much money we get in impact fees and how much those users will pay in water rates, and considering all the other factors we need to consider, we come back and says, yes, it is an economically feasible plan to charge a impact fee for that new construction, and then just the other rates that we get from when people just use their water rates and stuff like that, we can afford it also. So that's the report I want to share to the commissioners. You all three of you have been excellent. I know you've been very aware of water. You've contacted me or my office multiple times with really good questions. And so I didn't go necessarily into details in this report, but if you want to see any more of that, it is on our website. We have the actual plan itself where we break down the individual projects, when those projects will come online. We also break down our master plan that talks about how we will also look at funding some of these things too. And so that's the report I wanted to come and give to the commission. If you have any more questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Thank you, Zach. Zach loves to get all the spotlight on him, so I'll do it anyway. But as a former elected official, an engineer, and an attorney, I don't know if there's anybody better suited to lead us in the water issues that we've got. And you do a phenomenal job, as does all of your staff. So send our thanks to them.
I sure will.
But it is one of the things that, I mean, we spend, as you know, you just mentioned it, we spend an enormous amount of time working with the Conservancy District on water. The adage of, if you've got all the water, you've got a million problems. If you have no water, you have one problem.
Yep.
Is really true for Washington County. And so we just thank you for all of your work on this. This was a pretty quick pivot from the LPP to other plans, and this looks like it took 2 decades to come up with, and it didn't take that long, but it took an enormous amount of work. So,
thanks.
but just as a citizen, let alone as somebody who has to take care of 200,000 people and 6.2 million visitors a year, I'm comforted by this plan. It's already underway. Anybody who drives north to Cedar City can see what's going on right now, and so but I sleep better knowing that it's going to be expensive and it's going to take an enormous amount of work, but we do have a plan for the next 20 years, so.
Thanks.
And I'd just like to add on to that, Zach, you've done a great job up there at the Water District. I kind of miss you down here, but I don't know which one of my fellow commissioners I'd throw off the commission if you came back. No, just kidding. You were a great county commission. But, a lot of people need to understand how important water is. I think sometimes we get into this conversation where we politicize it. We think, well, it's all about new growth or this or that. And our pioneers from the very beginning, that was the first problem they had to solve. And I say this often, but when I drive home and I look up the canyon there in between Hurricane and Laverton, and I see those canals that were carved on the canyon wall in order to bring water out onto those 2 benches so those communities could survive. And we've been developing water ever since. If we hadn't, we wouldn't even have this community that we have. But as you know, the Colorado River was allocated in the 1920s. It was one of the a decade of high water. It was kind of like last year. And they went out there and they allocated it. And we've been in drought cycles ever since. And so, we're having to have a discussion among the 7 western states about what that means. And so this is the reason why the pipeline has been put on hold. And I saw your leadership immediately grab a hold of that, because people need to realize we turned in all the documents for the pipeline in 2019. And then other states started saying, hey, hold on. And you have created a plan that I think, you're right, it absolutely has a lot of vision to it. It's going to be a heavy lift for everybody, but it's a doable plan, And it really takes responsibility for the water resource that we have. There was a little bit of, maybe we hadn't taken as good a thought to the water, and so this plan really does, this reuse plan. There's one last thing. You showed a graph, because I happen to be a member of your board, that showed the western states, and New Mexico in particular, and I like to pick on New Mexico. I consider New Mexico a third world country. And, but anyway, yeah, I'm not one for their tourism board, and Brittany's over there like, don't let anybody from New Mexico hear you say that. It's a beautiful state. It reminds me of Cane Beds, Arizona, the entire state. That wasn't my point. They're also bad at something else, and it's water. And you showed a chart of drought tolerance. And in the 1980s, that state made a policy that they were no longer going to build reservoirs. And what's going to happen when drought comes, and it will, whatever you think about climate change, the fact of it is Mother Nature has been changing her mind for a long time. And when that happens, the state of New Mexico is going to be in a tough spot because they have almost no drought tolerance built into their system. Water development takes leadership, just like it took leadership by our pioneers. I consider you a modern, ditch builder, and you're just like the pioneers. So
Thanks.
I don't know if that was enough praise.
No,
Sorry for throwing New Mexico under the bus. I mean,
I do it all the time.
there are things that I like about New Mexico, They have some good oil fields up there around Farmington and stuff. So.
Poor Zach, because I annoy him. I send him a
That's fun.
email of every time we count the water in our house, right? And every time we have a really good week where we haven't used much, I send him a copy of that little email. So, but it's probably bothers
It's interesting.
you. We're doing our part, by the way. This water that's probably most likely going to stay here now is from
Yes.
Washington State. So
been imported
we're
in.
importing water here. That
And we'll keep reusing it.
yeah, 12 ounces at a time.
It wasn't a phenomenal water year, though. With,
Yeah.
Yeah.
When does water year technically start?
So it's October 1st. What's interesting is I don't feel like I've been in this career for very long, but in my career now, so last year was the wettest year ever recorded in St. George history. But 3 years ago, we went the longest without rain in my history. So we went 155 days without any measurable rainfall. So we have these massive, living in the desert, we have these massive variabilities, and the only way to get out of that is to build infrastructure. So.
Well, it was interesting that in August, you were sitting there with Sand Hollow at 92%. I don't think it's been 92% at the beginning of a water year, much less at the end. So
So since it's been constructed, it's never been that high at that time of year.
yeah.
So, and all our reservoirs, Gunlock's like 90%. All our reservoirs that we manage right now are at 90% or above. So that just doesn't happen.
So Zach, once we get all these reservoirs built, would you join us in calling on all the citizens to continue to pray for more wet years like last year so you can fill them up?
Well, I can tell you the tourism department absolutely loves when the Gunlock waterfalls are going because brings in a lot of money. So anytime we can have those things operating like that, it will help the tourism office, right?
They're nodding with you, yes. Well, thank you very much, Zach. I believe our
Thanks,
next item is not the presentation, but also it has to do with you.
Yeah, and I just want to say why I appreciate this money is because this is just not the money. I can leverage this money now. So a lot of these big water projects, we have to go and work with state and federal partners on it. And so I can take this and say, hey, our county's doing their part. And so it's just not the money that you may be providing. I can leverage that and sometimes triple the amount of money. And it'll be a huge way of me getting more money coming from this county, from both the state and the federal level.
We like to do our part to help you out.
Well, thanks.
So with that, item number 5 is consideration of resolution number R 2023-3185, a resolution awarding funding to the Washington County Water Conservancy District for the design and construction of Toker Reservoir.
Mr. Chairman, if I could start the discussion on this. So all of you might remember the American Rescue Plan Act of 2021. So this had to do with COVID, and the federal government started sending money to local governments. At first, as a physical conservative, we all had a kind of heartburn over this. And then we suddenly realized, well, if it doesn't come to Washington County, it's gonna go to Portland. And, but what we decided is that as a county, we really wanted to make sure that these funds did not just trickle away, but they were invested in the community. And so there's basically three projects in particular. One is the expansion on the jail, which was desperately needed, a medical wing of the jail, and also increased capacity that will be able to largely be funded out of this. And it means that we won't have to bond and go back to the citizens and ask for bonding on a general obligation for that. And then we also have a small building for emergency operations. It'll be out near our fairgrounds, and that's to store emergency items that our EOC needs. And then we wanted to do something in the way of water. And so the resolution we have before us is to give $5 million to the Washington County Water Conservancy District to aid in the construction, towards the construction of the Toker Reservoir that has drastically gone up in price due to inflation. And so it's amazing. We've been talking about this reservoir as a resident here, I know they were talking about it over 20 years ago. And so it's finally coming to pass. We're laying the pipe. We have all of the dam. It's actually under construction. They're starting to do the foundation work for the dam. And so the resolution we have before us is to appropriate that $5 million towards that project.
And like Zach said, there's a term in fundraising called early money is like yeast. It helps raise the dough. So this is, and I didn't come up with it, but so the $5 million is really more like 15 or 20 when you can leverage that. So we're happy that we can help make a dent. Wish we could do a lot more, but we can do something.
Is that a motion, Victor?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt Resolution R-2023-3185, a resolution awarding funding to the Washington County Water Conservancy District for the design and construction of the Toker Reservoir.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. There you go, Zach.
Thank you, Zach.
We'll get a lot more money. Item number 6 is the Emergency Services Report. Sergeant Cashin from our wonderful Sheriff's Office.
Afternoon, Commissioners. Hello. The only thing I have to say is every time the Gunlock Falls roll, my people get really busy.
I was gonna say, you're kind of the opposite, right? You'd like that
I'm kind of the opposite of
not
that,
to
yeah.
flow.
Anyway, so actually it's been a little bit slower lately, which has been nice. And I shouldn't use that word because it'll get busy now, but we only had 7 rescues in the last month. That puts us at 123. We had 158 man hours, 2 in-county residents, 3 out of county, and 3 out of state. 19th of September, we had a lost juvenile out in Hilldale. Apparently this young man decided to go hike the mountain during the daylight, but when it got dark, he couldn't get down. And a 23-year-old female went after him and also got ledged out. So team went out, they went up there, found them, located them both, and got them off. On the 24th, we had 2 stranded climbers at Island in the Sky in Snow Canyon. They were doing really well till they got halfway down, the rope got tangled, and they couldn't go up or down. So my Hangle team went out, they climbed up there, got the rope loose, and got them repelled. Had Neil Hiker in Babylon Arch, 61-year-old female, just needed some help getting out of the arch area with dehydration. She refused any medical. Injured mountain biker in Snow Canyon. That one was fairly close to the road, but my SAR deputies went out there and helped her get back to medical, and then they took her. On the 8th, injured hiker on Bear Claw Poppy, which I hadn't seen for a while, but I guess it's cooled off enough. We're gonna start having quite a bit of that. This 46-year-old male had an injured collarbone. So they actually got to him and they stabilized it and got him out to the ambulance and sent him off. On the 14th, we had a traffic accident on I-15 in Arizona in the Gorge. I got called at 2:15 in the morning. Semi actually went off and down into a ravine, and they were needing help getting the driver out, so I paced out my Angle team and sent them down there. And a Again, on the 14th, we were doing the water safety for the Huntsman World Senior Games out at Gunlock. And we had an 80-year-old male that we had to rescue and call medical on. He was apparently extremely hypothermic. So my EMS treated him until the medics got there from Santa Clara. That was it.
Well, thank you very much. Actually talked about you a fair amount on the radio this morning and all of your team, and just how grateful we are. The question was posed, what would happen if volunteerism went away? And I said, that's a very scary day. But thank you to all of your team. They do this with their own equipment, their own vehicles. We say it every month, but it's true every single month. Thank you for their time, their employers that allow them to go out and do it, and for a great county that still is willing to put their lives on the line to go help other people.
Yep, some of the best people I have ever known.
They really are.
And
You do a
that-
great job. You're one of the best people too, so thank you.
Thanks, Cassius.
Item number 7 is the consideration of purchase requests. Ray Boyer. Just before you start, we say this every time, but always after. So I'm gonna say before. These are items that have been budgeted. These are not surprises, but if it's over a certain dollar threshold, then they have to be approved in a public meeting, which is why we're doing this now.
That's why I'm here. I have quite a few today, so bear with me. I guess we're getting caught up from the last few times. The first one I have here is, the first few are for tourism. This first one is for the tourism conference, food and beverages. This covers 3 days worth of meals for $21,866.10. The next one is for the tourism conference groundbreaking video. This is for filming and production for $21,915. The next one is, this is for two sales mission fees. One is for the Berlin sales trip, and the other one is an ad in a publication, an international publication, and this is for $13,000. The next few are for the roads department. The first one here is the distributor time for spraying the chip seal oil. This includes the labor, mobilization, and layover for distributor operators. The higher cost on the layover is partially due to the weather the rain weather that we had during the chipping projects, and this is for $23,900. The next one is for the pavement markings after the chipping projects were complete. So there's new markings on Old Highway 91, Silver Reef Drive, Silver Reef Road, Cemetery Road, Silver Valley Roads in the Leeds area. This includes mobilization and the paint. This is for $13,727.60. The next one is a new, it's a heavy-duty deck over tilt equipment trailer. This is for the roads department. This will handle the mobilization of like the mini excavators, bobcats, those types of equipment. This is for $21,100. Oh, and it's being built to suit our needs. The next one is for a new action target system at the practice range at the sheriff's office. This is for $40,000. The next one is for the commissary items. This is a blanket PO to cover us. We think it'll get us through the rest of the year for $35,000. The next one is for emergency services. This one is specifically for the fire suppression. This is the purchase of land by Kolob Reservoir. This is part of the participation and commitment in line with the fire suppression agreement that we have there. This is for $15,408. The next one is for some Safe Light gas detection kits. This is a regional asset. It will be distributed between 3 different hazmat teams, and it's grant reimbursed for $16,444.62. The next one is a cybersecurity package. This is for it's an Iron County asset. It is also grant reimbursed, and it's for $13,422. This next one is for Legacy Park. This is for what's called a little buddy trailer. This little trailer, it's kind of like a supersized vacuum. It vacuums up the shavings and cleans the stalls. It speeds up the process. It compacts the waste, and which equals in less dumps in half the time. And this is for $16,749. And the final one is for repair and maintenance on garage doors and stall doors. The repairs were done in 4 different buildings. One of them's in a couple of the stall barns, the Harmony building, the shop they have there, and the indoor arena. This one is a total of $21,637. And unless there's any questions, that is all.
Thank you, Ray. I move that we approve the budget request that Ray has presented.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Item number 8 is consideration of ordinance number 2023-1239-0, an ordinance rezoning a certain portion of Washington County near Veo from RA 10, which is residential agricultural 10-acre minimum lot size, zone to the RA 2.5, which is residential agricultural 2.5-acre minimum lot size, zone hereinafter fully described in this ordinance. Scott Messel.
Commissioners, for procedural purposes, requesting that we do item number 9 before we do item number 8. Just how the process for development and moving
Chairman.
forward with future subdivision plat, requesting to do item number 9.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we amend our agenda, and so item 9 will become item 8, and item 8 will become item 9.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to amend the agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. A motion to amend the agenda passes, so now item number 8 is consideration of resolution number R 2023-3186, a resolution approving a variation from standards for subdivision road improvements for the Pleasant Meadows subdivision.
Yes, Commissioners, there is a property located, Sarah, are you right, going to the next one, sorry. Go one more. So located off Highway 18, north of Veo, south of Brookside, or in Central. There is Canal Drive. Trudy Thurgood, the property owner, owns parcel 7143-D-NW, and originally the property was larger. You can see what's highlighted in red. Several years ago, they constructed an accessory dwelling on the property, and their kids moved into it, married kids moved into it, and unfortunately for Trudy, her kids accepted a job in Arizona and are needing to move or have already relocated. To bring in the meantime, or between the time they got the accessory dwelling permit approval and now, split off a lot so that they could receive a mortgage on the accessory dwelling. And so it didn't go through the proper subdivision process, and so they are in process of going through that right now. And as part of that Canal Drive Road, our code requires that the access to subdivisions is fully improved to a width and standard that's established in county code. And the one thing to make it even more difficult is Canal Drive goes across BLM land. And BLM is willing to transfer the right-of-way to the property owner with the caveat that it can't be widened. There's a 50-foot wide right-of-way, but it is currently not improved to that full 50 feet. In the real world, nothing is really changing. There's 2 dwellings out there. Canal Drive is kind of used as more or less an access road to several existing homes down there. And so because of that, requirement by the BLM. The Thurgoods are asking for a variation from standard which the county code allows for, and it has to be approved by the county commission. If this wasn't approved, then they need to go back to the drawing board, and so that's why there's no we needed to go through this before we went through the zone change.
Any questions for Scott?
I don't. We've been researching this and we found out that we're not unique in this. There are lots of BLM roads that link private parcels, and BLM pretty much dictates what somebody's gonna do with their road, or even if they have the right of way. So based on that, I move that we approve resolution number R 2023-3186, a resolution approving a variation from standards for subdivision road improvements for the Pleasant Meadows subdivision. This parcel particular.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes. Now consider ordinance number 2023-1239-0, an ordinance rezoning a certain portion of Washington County near Veo from RA10 zone to the RA 2.5 zone, hereinafter fully described in the ordinance, as I said just a few minutes ago.
Yes.
Scott?
Yes, so this parcel that was illegally created, they're trying to bring that into compliance. Part of that is rezoning the piece and then also going through the subdivision process. They couldn't go through the subdivision process until they had the variation from the standards. But the Planning Commission reviewed the zone change request and held the properly noticed public hearing for the zone change. And we have a legal description defining what the proposed lot the legal description for the proposed lot. And so the Planning Commission held the meeting and there was no one that spoke against it, and the Planning Commission recommends approval of the zone change request to the County Commission.
Very good, pretty straightforward. Well, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt ordinance 2023-1239-0, an ordinance rezoning a certain portion of Washington County near Veo from RA10 residential agriculture 10-acre minimum lot size zone to RA 2.5 residential agriculture 2.5 acre minimum lot size zone, hereafter fully described in this ordinance.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. Motion passes. Thank you,
Thank you.
Scott.
Thank you very much. Now they'll be able to move forward with the subdivision.
Okay. Item number 10 is consideration of resolution R 2023-3187, a resolution approving the renewal of an agreement between Washington County and Adara for data collection and exchange services. Sarah Otto from our tourism department.
Sarah, was I too harsh on New Mexico? I mean, you've driven through there. I mean,
I actually have never set foot in New Mexico, so I'm thinking I'm gonna keep it that way after all I've heard from you about it.
yeah. It's not that bad. I mean,
Okay.
You called it a third world country.
I like third world countries. I mean, you know, they have a little atmosphere to them.
Well, but I find out on the western border of New Mexico, there's a town actually named Gallup, which was the instruction for people to keep going. Gallup on.
Sarah, this is not getting any.
Now, our
Why don't you
esteemed
go
treasurer, David Whitehead, was down there visiting his children in Gallup.
I noticed that he's not here anymore,
Yeah.
so we can say what we want. But go ahead, Sarah. Why don't we
Sarah,
ask you back to
Do you
work?
wanna talk
what business
about
brings
Adara?
you here to Washington?
We're talking about Adara. Adara is a platform that allows us to track the efficiency of our ads across all digital platforms. Basically what we're doing is pixeling our ads and then pixeling our website. So Adara is actually reporting on the number of people that see our ads, the number of people that actually click our ads, and the number of people that actually live or end up on our website, as well as those that book flights and book hotels. So very intuitive, very telling of the efficiency of our ads. This is a renewal of that contract, just annual renewal, and we kind of rely on that for reporting out on ad campaigns. Again, tourism dollars, all budgeted, just going through process.
I'm glad it's a renewal because anybody who didn't hear the word renewal will think you guys are about 20 years behind trying to track whether ads are efficient. But we have been, we're just renewing the contract.
Correct.
Good job.
I I move that we approve item number 10.
I'll second that motion.
We have a very brief motion and a second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion
Thank you.
passes. Item number 11 is consideration of Resolution R 2023-3188, a resolution approving the recommendation of the Council of Governments to establish a leadership commitment of Vision Zero fatalities and serious injuries with a 5% yearly reduction, great name, for the Washington County Under the Safe Streets and Roads for All program.
That's a lot of words. And what we're trying
Todd,
to
can
do.
I take just a second to acknowledge Todd, and we'll talk about this again in a second, but Todd is our new Public Works Director, and replacing our good friend Ron Whitehead, unfortunately, but that's, if they wonder why you're standing here,
That's why. Yeah.
that's why. Thank you, Todd.
We're missing Ron a lot, but I appreciate your confidence. In this one, this is a COG function, the Council of Government. They're a recommending body to the county commission. They have given some money to establish
A study?
They were given some money to do a study to basically try to establish how we can best use money in the county for safe streets, to get rid of fatalities and serious accidents, or reduce them at least. And that's the first process in this. They've established a recommendation to set a goal to decrease those serious and fatal accidents by 5% per year. And so that's the recommendation they've given to you. They'd like for you to ratify that recommendation so that we can establish that as our goal in this study.
Now, let's see, if I remember the council of government meeting, there was a request for match, to match the federal funding that they received. But the motion we have before us is just to accept the program, right?
Just to
Or-
accept this goal. We have already previously approved of the match, so the Council of Government funding has already approved making the match that we got from UDOT to establish the money we needed to do the study. The study allows us to then apply next year for additional money to actually implement some of the results that come out of the study. So it's very important to the county. It's countywide. It's not just in the Metropolitan Planning Organization area. It's going to be a countywide study. We have a lot of unsafe areas in the county that we would like to obtain money for, and so this will allow us to apply for some of that funding.
Very good.
Well, I'm part of this statistic on busy Bluff Street back in March, so it should be nice if we could have Northern Corridor to take some of the pressure off that road, right? Which hopefully part of the study.
Divide and conquer is usually a lot better. The busier your roads get, the higher the traffic fatalities and serious injuries you get.
Very good. Well, I think it's a noble goal, and I'm going to follow Commissioner Almquist's example and say that we should, I'd like to make a motion that we pass Resolution R-2023-3111, or 3188, which is the Vision Zero Fatalities goal of 5% yearly reduction. That's my motion.
Second.
Motion and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Thank you.
motion passes. Thank you, Todd. Item number 12 is consideration of resolution number R 2023-3189, a resolution proposing to annex additional areas into Dameron Valley Fire Special Service District, proposing to authorize additional services and other matters. Devin.
Thank you, Commissioners. This is a resolution that has to do with the consolidation of the fire districts along SR 18. So previously, about a year and a half ago, you'll remember, when we talk about consolidating fire districts, there are a couple of ways of doing that. And initially, the Commission had looked at dissolving all of them and starting with a new district. This resolution would expand out the boundaries. So rather than dissolving all of them, it would expand out the boundaries of one of the existing districts and keep it there. And there are a couple of reasons for why you would do that. One is this district, Dameron Valley, has an EMS license, Emergency Medical Services license. It's got an EIN with a track record for federal grants for fire protection. They have personnel who are on staff who expect to be paid for their good work. And it's hard to keep that going while you dissolve them if that's what you do. And so this resolution would preserve Dameron Valley Fire Special Service District, and it proposes to annex those other areas. So Brookside, Bayo, Gunlock, and Diamond Valley. So part of this resolution requires, so this is just a notice of it's a proposal. So what that means is this is just stating what the commission's intent is to do. What'll happen now is staff will issue public notice. There will be a hearing in December, and then we would look at taking final action at some point in February on this. So this just gets the process started. It's not the actual annexation. This just starts the clock.
Okay, thank you.
Mr. Chair, I move that we approve item number 12, consideration of resolution R 2023-3189, proposing to annex additional areas into Dameron Valley Fire Special Service District, proposing to authorize additional services and other matters.
I'll second that motion, Mr. Chairman.
We have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. After some lengthy and lively discussion earlier this afternoon in a public meeting there. Item number 13 is consideration of resolution number R 2023-3190, a resolution proposing to annex additional areas into Pine Valley Special Service District and other matters. I am gonna guess this is similar.
This is correct, Commissioner. This is very similar. So there are two districts that we're dealing with up in the northern part of the county, the northwest. So there currently is Pine View Special Service District and then North Central Special Service District. This, instead of, again, initially the commission had looked at potentially dissolving both of those districts at the start of this process. This resolution would keep Pine Valley Special Service District and expand its boundaries out to take over the North Central area. Same process.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Devin?
No, pretty straightforward. And Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion that we adopt resolution R-2023-3190, a resolution proposing to annex additional areas into Pine Valley Special Service District and other matters, which, as been said, is starting the process.
Second.
Motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. Final item on the agenda is consideration of resolution number R 2023-3191, a resolution appointing a member to the Angel Springs Special Service District Administrative Control Board.
Very good. So this is a small water special service district that is located just in the Angel Springs area, which is Hidden Valley, which is right next to Leeds. In fact, many people driving by Leeds probably assume that that's part of the town of Leeds, but it's part of the unincorporated area of the county, and they have a board that we appoint. And the name that has been submitted to us to fill the vacancy is Kenton Arbonne, right? Is that? Arbonne. And a French guy, or of descent.
You should do it with a good French accent.
What would you?
Arbonne.
Arbonne,
Yeah.
It's kind of like bundt cake.
Sure.
Anyway, he's a delightful person, and more importantly, he's willing to serve, and so I'd like to put his name forward for that.
Okay, I'll take that as a motion.
Second.
And a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, motion passes. That concludes the agenda for today. Again, we said at the beginning of the meeting, public comment was moved forward to the beginning of the meeting from now on so that we can hear from the constituents and the citizens of Washington County so they can better inform us of things that may affect them and have their voice be heard on items that we're going to vote on during the business portion of the meeting. So public comment is moved up in the agenda. With that, meetings are rebroadcast daily on TDS cable channels 22 and 108 at 10, 2, and 5:30 for your viewing pleasure, and we will stand adjourned.